how I made over $500,000 in 2024. I'm going to be walking you through everything that I did. I'm actually going to take you month by month on the income streams, on what I was doing, how I was doing it, what a typical day in my life looked like, and we're going to take you from January 2024 all the way to December 2024, so there won't be any guesswork involved. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of give you some background because there was a couple of different things going on. Like, as you guys may know, if you're not new to this channel, I am an attorney. I do work full-time. I did work full-time in 2024 as well, but I had kind of like multiple jobs going on because I was a federal law clerk. So that's, if you don't know, I was working for a judge, like something you do, a prestigious thing you do after graduating from law school. But I also started at my big law firm in 2024 as well. I was running a business. I was also a content creator. So there's a couple of different things going on. So I'm going to give you some background information. We're going to jump into the month by month income. And I'm not just going to give you the total income for each month and what that looked like, because I do see people when they do these kinds of videos, they just give the total income. And guys, I love those videos. Like, I love those videos. And I was like, oh, I should do one. But I'm actually going to give you the breakdown. And so you're going to see, like, this is what I made from my full-time job. This is what I made from my business. And I'm going to, in some cases, lump content creation plus business together, because it would get too into the nitty-gritty to delineate it. Like, this video would literally be an hour long. So I'll probably lump those together for the most part, but you're going to see the differences between the two. And I'm going to talk about where I can, what I was doing during each of those months. So let me take you back to 2024, and a little bit of background is necessary here. I graduated law school from Georgetown Law in the top of my class in 2022. I secured 2 federal clerkships for immediately after law school, which I was going to go and do immediately before going to my big law firm. So that's what I was doing from 22 to 23. I was in my district court clerkship. From 23 to 24, I was in my circuit court clerkship. And then I started at my big law firm in 2024. Now, for those of you who may not know, federal law clerks, you are an employee of the federal government. And so you know what your salary is, right? And it doesn't change from month to month. And it's a fixed salary. It's basically based on where you're living. So you can get clerkships in different arenas. So I wanted to give you that context there, because that does inform like at least the first half of my 2024 income for my clerkship. Starting in August. So the beginning of August is when I finished my circuit court clerkship, the beginning of August 2024. And I took just about a 3-month, it was like a week shy of 3 months. I took a week shy of 3 months vacation before starting at my big law firm. So I started at my big law firm in October of 2024. I would have taken more time, and I probably should have, but actually I feel like I got a good vacation and I started at a good time, because I was like, okay, like ready to get started at my firm. So I started at my firm in October 2024. So that 3-month period between 2.5 or 2 3/4, whatever period before starting at my big law firm, there won't be a salary for, me being an attorney for my full-time job. However, I did get a bonus after finishing my clerkships. Most big law firms will pay hefty. Most big law firms will pay hefty bonuses if you're coming off a clerkship, because they recognize your valuable skills, right? So now, with that background, let's go ahead and jump in, starting with January 2024. I have my laptop here, and so I'm going to be looking down to get these numbers for you and giving you guys some details on what I did. So my total for January 2024 was $9,890. Okay, so $9,890. All of these numbers will be on the screen. For my clerkship, that was $4,916. And for my business, that was $4,974. Now, like, I gave you the overview of my clerkship, and that's why I did that in the beginning, so I don't have to repeat it every single month. So that's that. For my business, I did workshops for law school. So my business is law school coaching, but that involves like a variety of different things. So that also involves content creation, like what you see here, what you see on TikTok, on my Topping the Curve page, and on Instagram. But it also involves like workshops for undergraduate schools and law schools, right? So this month in January, I did do some workshops for some law schools. So that's where a portion of that income came from. I also was selling a digital product at that time that I no longer sell. So like, my things, they do evolve and they do change, but I was selling a digital product. And so some of the income came from that. And then January 2024 was actually when I launched my law school coaching community, which I still have to this day and I hold very dear to my heart. I love the members of that community and my clients. And so that is where the bulk of that $4,974 from my business came from in January. In February of 2024, the total was $22,015, so 22015. Clerkship, again, $4,916. Oh, and let me say this. So, because people seem to get this confused. For my full-time job, it's post-tax, right? Taxes come out before this money hits my bank account. So what I'm giving you for my full-time job, this goes for both my clerkship and for my big law job, is post-tax. Taxes are already taken out. The numbers I'm giving you for my business, taxes are not taken out, right? For my business, I am giving you total revenue for the month with no taxes removed, right? So full-time job, post-tax, business, pre-tax, and I'll talk more about that at the end. I'm also going to tell you how I did these things, again, like what my days look like, so make sure you stay till the end of the video. So clerkship, again, for February is $4,916. My business in February 2024 was $17,099. Again, some of the income streams, I did some more workshops for law schools. That's some of my favorite things, like just teaching at schools, going to undergraduate schools, law schools, different things along those lines. My law school coaching community, which I mentioned, I started in January. And then in this month, I also started accepting clients for application help, like specific dialed in application help. This time it was one-on-one clients that I started accepting in February. And that kind of like took off, which is why February for my business was such a good month. For March 2024, our total was $17,231. Again, the clerkship is $4,916. My business was $12,315. I didn't do anything new in my business this month. And because my business is a service-based business, it really ebbs and flows depending on if I feel like working or if I don't feel like working, or if I want to launch something new or if I don't want to launch something new. And in 2024, I'll get more into this at the end of the video. That was kind of when like I really learned how I wanted my business to run. And it really actually wasn't until like more towards the end of 2024 that I really got into a rhythm with what my offers are going to be, what I'm going to be doing, and how I'm going to be doing it. So for March, I didn't do anything new. It was the same as my law school coaching community. I didn't do any workshops for law schools that month. I sold some digital products, and I don't even believe I took on or I accepted any one-on-one clients that month. And again, like sometimes I'm busier than other times in my full-time job. And so I may or may not accept clients depending on my full-time job schedule. April 2024, the total was $35,088. So the clerkship was $4,916 and my business was $30,172. The bulk of the money this month came actually from my one-on-one coaching. I did accept individual one-on-one clients this month, and I allowed people to start payment plans. And then again, my law school coaching community, which was one of the most important things for me, because what people don't realize about law school coaching and a lot of coaching and just communities in general, it's not instant results. It's not instant success. If you really want to build something, application, wealth, whatever it may be, it takes time. And that's why like I pour my heart and soul into my community, because you really have to be in there for a couple of months to see the kinds of results you're wanting to get. Like just for a small example, if you want to build wealth, that's not happening overnight. If you want to get to $300,000, $500,000, $600,000, that's years, right? And I talked to you guys before in another video, which I believe is my 8 habits video. It'll be up here on the screen, whatever the video is, but how I'm always in a community. Like I stay in a community, and this is exactly why, because it takes time to build these kinds of things. May was one of my biggest months of 2024. It was $64,261. Again, my clerkship was $4,916 and my business was $59,345. Y'all, oh my gosh, like when I realized I just had a $60,000 month in my business, that was my biggest month to date. And I was so thankful. Like I was like, oh my gosh, like Jesus, like you're really showing out here. So that was one of my biggest months in business. And again, like I said, in 2024, I was still figuring out like the ins and outs and what I wanted to do and how I wanted to offer. And something that's super, super important to me has always been helping as much people as possible. And May was finally when I kind of figured out a way to do that in my business, because the way law school coaching goes, and similar with a lot of coaching, is one-on-one is great, but it's just that, it's one-on-one. And I wanted more people to have access to me. I wanted more people to learn what I was teaching, especially more people like me, people who are, like either immigrants or, well, I'm not an immigrant, but my parents are, or like first gen. I'm not first gen, but I am the first attorney in my family. My parents are Jamaican. I didn't come from wealth. I wanted those people to have more access. And so in May, that was when I launched the very, very first application mastermind. And by doing that, I was able to give more people opportunities to learn what they need to do to build a strong law school application that I was previously doing with my one-on-one clients, but I could teach it to more people. And so launching that application mastermind is really what allowed May to be such a good month. And I just loved it. It was like the best thing ever. Everyone in the application mastermind loved it. As of this recording, I just finished my January application mastermind. And so it's something that is a staple in my business, but similarly, like finding what works and sticking with those and creating systems from it. So that was the biggest piece of May. I also still did take some one-on-one clients in May. And then in May, my digital product sales as well contributed to that. Next, we have June. So June was $44,594. And that was, again, my clerkship, $4,916. And my business did $39,678. In June, I held a lot of workshops. And by a lot, I probably mean one or two. One or two workshops. And again, workshops are a way for me to like focus on one particular topic. I think I did a standout in law school admissions workshop and maybe a personal statement workshop in June. And then as well, I was still getting one-on-one clients in the month of June. So that's the bulk of my business income. I did have a few sales, I believe, from courses. So because I had done the application mastermind in May, I turned that into a course for people who wanted to go back and like use the course on their own time or couldn't afford or join the mastermind. They could then just purchase the course and still get access to that information. So I also had course sales in June as well. July was $52,218. My clerkship was $4,916 and my business was $47,302. July was pretty similar to June. July was like one of my like I knew my clerkship was ending, right? So I told you guys like my clerkships are a year gig. So I finished my clerkship that first week in August. So August was the month where I finished my clerkship. I believe I only did the first week in August and then my clerkship was over. So my total for August was over $100,000. And that is because I finished at the end of a pay period. And so I did get my full clerkship check, which is, as you guys know, $4,916. However, I also received my clerkship bonus from my big law firm. So I was eligible for my clerkship bonus immediately after finishing my clerkship. So I did get that deposited into my account. I will not share the exact amount of my clerkship bonus, but it was a hefty sum. It was a hefty sum. And so for August, we are over $100,000 in like attorney payments. And then my business did bring in $45,701 in August. August was the last month that I was working with one-on-one clients. I actually filled up with one-on-one clients back in June, so I wasn't accepting any more one-on-one clients, and a lot of my programs actually completely filled up. So most of this income was from businesses, established systems in my business that I already had running. So like my law school coaching community, my digital products, my courses, existing clients who are on like recurring payments, different things along those lines. And I think I may have done a workshop in August as well. September was $43,677. So all of that is from my business in September, $43,677. I was on vacation and I took a lot of vacations during this month, so I really didn't do much in my business here. So that mainly came from my law school coaching community, recurring income, as well as an application mastermind that I did host, which was the second one in September. In October, so this was the month I started at my big law firm, but I only did just about a week because I started at the end of October. So October was over 31,967, and I say over, that's because it was a partial big law paycheck. So I believe my check was over $6,000 or something along those lines, and my business was $25,967. I didn't do much in my business this month because, again, like I was on vacation for most of the month. I was traveling for most of the month. So a lot of this was just systems I had built in, recurring income, and things along those lines. So like content creation, et cetera, et cetera. November was over $40,616. And the reason I'm going to say over is because I'm not going to give the exact amount of my big law paycheck. There's a lot of reasons that go behind that. But my big law paycheck is over $13,000. My business was $27,616 that month. This was my first full month at the firm. So again, I just really wanted to kind of make sure I got settled in the firm, make sure that I understood what I would be doing, give myself time to get acquainted. So I don't even think I offered anything new in November in terms of my business. It was only existing clients. It was finishing out, like getting applications in, anything along those lines. I don't think anything new. So all of this was recurring income, recurring like systems, the community I told you guys I have, different things along those lines, content creation, et cetera, et cetera. And then December was over 63,000. So again, my big law paycheck was over $13,000, and my business did just about 50,000, if not 50,000 exactly, in December of 2024. So in December of 2024, I was marketing my software as a service. So I'm creating it's called My Personal Law School Application Timeline and Tracker. And essentially what that is, it's a system that more and more people can use to walk themselves through the application cycle on a month-by-month basis, knowing exactly what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. It's videos from me, it's to-do tasks, it's literally everything that I wish I had during my law school application cycle. So I did officially launch that actually it wasn't just in December, it was towards the end of 2024. So that, again, just more people could have access, more people can learn what they need to do, how to do it. And so that was a big part of the December income, as well as I announced my January application mastermind. And so sales from that started coming in from December. And then again, like a lot of the recurring things that I talked to you guys about that I had kind of learned how to build and was putting a lot of time and effort into literally in the entirety of 2024. That brings our total for 2024 to over $530,000 for my full-time job. I don't know why I'm putting that in quotations. Like, it was a full-time job. I was literally working full-time. Okay, but so my full-time job as an attorney, my take home, so again, like I mentioned, this is post-tax, it was over $126,000. And then for my business, it was $403,772. That is pre-tax, so that is revenue. My take home in my business was a little over $230,000. And so my total take home post-taxes for my business and my full-time job was over $350,000. Now, there's a lot of things that I could say about 2024, and I'm going to get into some things about like if this is your goal, if this is what you want to do, how you can set yourself up for it, what my days look like, and everything along those lines. So first and foremost, a typical day for me. Now, obviously, every single day is going to be different. Every single day was different. So I'm going to give maybe like the average of what my day would look like. Now, my days look different when I was clerking, when I was on vacation, and when I was in my big law job. Obviously, because those three things, there's different availability. My time is more caught up now that I'm working full time in big law. I had the most free time when I was on vacation, and I had a little more free time when I was in my clerkship. So first, starting off with my clerkship. So a clerkship is your typical 9 to 5. So if you're watching this and you're working a typical 9 to 5, this is like what my day looked like when I was building. So I would wake up between 6 and 7 a.m. most days. The important piece here, however, is a lot of days I would be up actually between 3 and 5 a.m. And it's not because I had to be up at 3 or 5 a.m., but honestly, I was so excited about what I was doing. I was so excited about what I was building. I just always wanted to find new ways to talk to people and encourage people and educate people. And that would literally wake me up. That would literally wake me up. And sometimes I would try to go back to sleep, but other times I would just get up and start working on my business. And so that would look like me either what I was talking about, working on building out that community, working on creating resources, working on creating content like this for my social media, because one of the biggest parts in business and in content creation is literally marketing, right? People always say like, be consistent. And yes, being consistent, it's so true, but it's also, it needs to be valuable, right? And I'm heavy on valuable, I'm heavy on educational. And so a lot of the times that is what I would be doing, or I'd be just getting nitty gritty into writing emails for my newsletter, educating people in any way that I can, or just figuring out ways to streamline my business. Because I knew I was going to be starting at my big law firm at the end of the year, I wanted to figure out ways to streamline my business so that I didn't have to be in my business 24/7 in order to have it run for me. And so you saw that, like, even when I pulled out, I was still bringing in multiple five figures, low to mid five figures, even when I wasn't actively super involved in my business, right? And so that's what a lot of those mornings would look like. And then from, either 5 to 8 a.m. when I would start getting ready for work, or even like 3 to 8 a.m. when I would start getting ready for work. And then I would go to work from 9 to 5. Then I would come home and get back to work on my business. Like, I would get back to work on my business, but usually when I came home, it wasn't so much like strategy, or this is what I need to build, or this is the system I need to create, or these are the content things. It's more so actual delivery. So when I got home from work, it's a lot of client calls. So I'd be having calls between 5:30 and 8 p.m., sometimes 9 p.m., meeting with my clients, doing calls in my community, bringing in guest speakers. So my afternoons would actually be client delivery. And that's typically what my days looked like during my clerkship. Now, obviously that's not every day. I was always big on giving myself a day of rest. And so usually on Wednesdays and Thursdays, I wouldn't do anything, but I would also work on weekends. So for me, Saturdays, I would spend the first half of Saturday from when I woke up, so maybe 9 a.m. because I like to sleep in on Saturday, so maybe 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. to 1 or 2 p.m., it would be working on my business. Sometimes I would literally sit there and record 8 YouTube videos. Sometimes I would record 30 TikToks. Sometimes I would quite literally build out a whole new course, or build out a whole new product, or something along those lines for my business. So Saturdays and Sundays were, in some senses, like actual work days for me. I will say Sunday was probably my most free day. I think it was Thursday and Sunday that I chose to be my free days. So, and that's what it looked like when I was in my clerkship. When I was on vacation, I actually didn't work too much when I was on vacation. So I took a vacation between August and October, like I told you guys. And that was really just, I worked whenever I wanted. Like, that was so amazing. Like, honestly, that is what retirement would probably look like for me, is working when I want, how I want, from wherever I want, because that's what it was for me. I would set my calls in the middle of the day, I would go for a walk in the middle of the day. Like, there was no set schedule, and I could just do whatever I wanted, set the calls and times for whatever I wanted, and do client delivery. So during vacation, I was definitely working, but it was more on my time, and I didn't have to wake up at 3, and I didn't have to wake up at 5. And it wasn't even like a 40-hour work week during vacation. But notice, like, right when I was still building these things in 2022 and 2023, even at the beginning half of 2024, it was definitely, I would still say, probably a minimum of 35 hours, 30 hours per week. So it was 2 full-time jobs in a sense that I was doing when I was still building it to get it to where it is today. And then we have at my big law firm. Oh gosh, guys, gosh. Okay, so my big law firm, so this is a little bit similar to my clerkship. I will say that I don't wake up at 3 or 5 a.m. as much as when I did when I was still in like the heavy building phases. Again, 2022 to early 2024. I think maybe I've woken up at 3 or 5 a.m. maybe twice. So it's really a lot less. It's nowhere near as involved or like as I have to put so much work into it, but that is intentional, right? I put all that effort in on the front end because I knew when I started at my big law firm, I wanted to give myself more time to just focus on my law firm work. So at my big law firm, a typical day is really more so me waking up at 6, and maybe I'll do an hour or so on my business in the morning before getting ready for work and actually getting started with work if I don't go to the gym in the morning. Now, this one is a little bit more difficult because big law days are different, right? Some days I'm working 8 hours, some days are 7 hours, some days are 9, some days are 10, right? Some days maybe even be 11, right? And so the days really differ, but maybe I'm done at 6 or 7 p.m. for my big law firm, and then it's business time. Like I just finished my application mastermind. We had calls every Monday and Friday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, right? And then that's an hour-long call. And then I would also do a call in my coaching community. So maybe on like my coaching community has 2 calls a month. And so I'll pick a call maybe at 7:30 one week on a Wednesday, or 7:30 another week on a Wednesday. And so, right. So I would say there's definitely still the leeway in that I choose when I set the calls. I choose if I want to do an application mastermind. I choose these things, right? But it's also like all the other things that I did in the beginning, I no longer have to do. Like I hired an assistant, I hired a video editor, I hired a lot of things that I could take off my plate so I don't have to do it. And that was one of the biggest things that I did in like June or so, was making those hires so that those things could come off my plate, and it frees me up to have this freedom and flexibility while in my big law job. So it's definitely not as intense now, but it's still a lot of work, right? Like getting up and going and and working in big law and then coming home and running a business it's no easy feat. And obviously I still work on my business on Saturdays, and Sundays is usually like my rest day. But lately I have been doing some Sundays just because I have some things in the works. So that's what my typical day looked like. Now I'm going to talk about some different strategies that I made sure I implemented during my business, right? So I talked to you guys about my full-time income is post-tax and my business income was pre-tax. So let me pull that up again. So the pre-tax for my business was $403,772. And baby, you don't want to be paying tax on a $400,000 income. You don't, okay? And so I did hire a CFO. I made all those hires, and that's a completely separate video that I had to do. But a couple of things I did do was I did my best to maximize my business write-offs, because I want to get that $400,000 down, right? You want to get your taxable income down. And so I did a whole bunch of write-offs, but some of the ones I can tell you on here is like home office. So writing off for my rent, right? Any mileage. So if I was driving somewhere for business, I would write that off literally every single business expense. So if I was taking a flight for business, if I was doing a dinner and talking about business, any system, any software, like literally anything I use. So my email software, anything along those lines that I use for business expenses, any business education. So like conferences I go to, written off. Coaches I hire, written off. Communities I join, written off, right? So just really making sure I'm keeping my expenses up to be in line with, or at least at the 15 to 20%-ish mark of my income. Like around the 15% mark is really where I try to keep it. Hiring contractors, right? I told you I have an editor, I have an assistant, right? And I have like more people in my business. So hiring contractors to really get those expenses up. And a lot of these is because my business it's me, right? I started it. I built it from the ground up. I built it from zero. I just didn't have that many expenses. And so I was intentional about going out to get these expenses, especially once my business started bringing in much, much higher income. Another big thing here was switching or getting my business switched from an LLC to an S Corp, because once you start bringing in that kind of money, right? An LLC, you have to pay the self-employment tax. You don't want to pay the self-employment tax. And so getting switched over to an S Corp allows you to take a salary, right? Instead of being taxed for self-employment, you pay yourself a reasonable salary. And if you don't have a tax person or whatever, and you need to get one if you're making this kind of money. And if you're a high earner, you should have one anyway, right? Like my CFO does both my business and my personal. Some other things that I also like looked into and did and wanting to do was making sure that my money was within my ecosystem. So another way to kind of reduce that taxable income is opening up a solo 401k for your business if you don't have one, or a SEP IRA, right? Buying things to reduce that taxable income that can be written off as expenses. So investment properties, cars. Yes, you can buy a car under your business name. This is not tax advice or anything along those lines. You want to hire a professional to help you through that. But these are the types of things I was looking into doing to get that taxable income down, okay? Because I don't want a $50,000 tax bill, okay? And this year, I'm gonna try to get that even lower. And then the other thing is keeping the money within your own ecosystem, right? So instead of maybe like, I don't know, paying it all in taxes, making charitable donations or creating your own charity or creating your own nonprofit. So lots of things along those lines that, I was looking into and still am looking into and am doing in my business. So that's also going to be very, very important. The next thing I'm going to talk about is what I did with the money. Oh my gosh, what did I do with the money? So first and foremost, I did have law school debt, do have law school debt. I did not pay off my student loans, but I had other debt from law school. I talk all the time about how when you have a goal, when you have a dream, sometimes if you don't come from wealth or you don't have the cash, you will have to take calculated risks, is what I will say, in order to get to that dream. And I did that. And I was never afraid to do it. I did it with landing my clerkships. I did it all throughout law school. I did it with my business. And so, right, so a lot of that money went towards paying some of those things down. Majority or a good amount of those went to my family, right, helping them out, paying their stuff down. I hired them, paid them as contractors, as consultants, and that helped get my expenses down. So that is where some of that money went. Other places the money went is to investments, right? The stock market, saving up for a down payment on a home. I've talked about that a million times before, right? So making sure that I'm using my business wealth to build my personal wealth, which is definitely something like you guys all want to be doing. Even if you're just side hustling, you don't consider it a business, even though it technically would be a business, investing that into the stock market and building up your personal wealth in that way. So I know you guys probably have a lot of questions. Make sure you leave them down in the comments below. And I have been seeing and hearing from a lot of you guys about, because I talk about community all the time. I talk about how I'm in multiple communities and coaches and mentors is how I've gotten to where I am today, not only in my legal career, but also just in my entrepreneurial career and different things along those lines. And I have been seeing those comments. I try to reply when I can, both here on YouTube and on TikTok and soon to be on Instagram. So make sure you follow there. But what I am thinking about doing is, because I actually don't know if one exists for this type of thing, like this type of content that I'm talking about. And I'm not talking about coaching here. I'm talking about a genuine community where you can talk about these things freely, where you can see what other people are doing, where you can see what I'm doing, where you can learn from your peers, right? Especially if you're a high earner like myself, if you're a woman or you're daughter of, or son or whatever of immigrants or whatever along those lines, and you just want to learn about investments or you want to hear from other people and what they're doing in that type of community. I don't have anything yet and I have no idea what it would look like, but I would love to get your input on it. So in the description down below, you're going to see a place where you can input your email just so I can have that and start collecting things as I brainstorm and see what this future community would look like. And I would love to get input from you guys. And leave a comment down below with what you would be interested in seeing if a community like that is something you would be interested in. Again, especially if you're a high earner, because that's probably who the community is going to be tailored towards. Because like I said, there's just no resources that I have found, none tailored towards the high earners, how you can keep building that wealth once you already have it. Every video is always, how to get rich or, how to find an extra $1,000. And it's most of us who are, if you're in the same position that I am, and even if you're on your way there, right? It's like, that's not what I need. I need to know how to build on it. I need to know the next steps. I have a full video on that already. It's going to be in this playlist, so you can watch that, where I talk all about how no one talks about how to do it, and I tell you guys some things that I'm doing. So if you're interested in a community like that, there's 3 steps. Number 1, follow me on Instagram. Number 2, comment down below letting me know what you're thinking, what you would like to see in that community, what it would be like. And then number 3, click the link in the description so you can give me your email so I can reach out to request some information, send a form, or anything along those lines. And if you're applying to law school, then check out Topping the Curve so you can get some law school coaching. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to know the in-depth, the step-by-step process, if you aren't here yet, but if you want to get here, I have a video that you should watch next, and it's titled How to Build Wealth Starting from Scratch. It's going to be here once this video ends, so make sure you head over and watch that. Don't forget to follow me on all my social media at Sephora Gray Esquire. That's ESQ for short, and I will see you guys on my next video. Thank you so much for watching.